Two people sit at the same outdoor table, breathing the same air under the same porch light. By the end of the night, one of them looks like they lost a fight with a sewing needle, a dozen small red marks up each arm. The other one has exactly 0 bites, not one. The usual explanation gets thrown around every summer. Sweet blood. It sounds harmless enough, almost charming. There's just one problem. It isn't real. Sweet blood is not a thing that exists medically or biologically. What's actually happening is stranger, and depending on how you feel about a brainless insect running calculations about your body without you noticing, possibly a little unsettling too. Because here's the truth. That mosquito didn't stumble onto you by accident. It found you, deliberately. And by the time you felt the first bite, it had already gathered more information about you than most strangers do in an entire conversation. Let's clear something up first. A mosquito is not thinking, not even a little. There's no moment of hesitation, no weighing of options, no tiny insect brain debating whether you look tasty tonight. A mosquito is closer to a biological machine than a decision maker. Wings, a handful of sensors, and exactly one objective. It detects a signal, and it moves toward it. It detects another, stronger signal, and it corrects course. That's the entire operating system. No preference, no personality, just stimulus and response. But here's what makes it unsettling instead of simple. That system is remarkably precise. Multiple detection tools are firing at once, building something close to a live profile of every warm body nearby. To a mosquito, some people show up like a flashing sign, others barely register at all. Think of it less like an animal making a choice and more like a guided missile. Not because it's intelligent, but because once it locks onto a signal, it follows that signal all the way back to its source. And that signal starts with something you're doing right now, without thinking about it at all. Breathing. Every time you exhale, you release a small, invisible cloud of carbon dioxide into the air around you. That cloud doesn't just vanish, it drifts, spreads, and forms a long, thinning plume behind you, like smoke from a chimney, only nobody can see it. A mosquito can detect that plume from up to 50 meters downwind. 50 meters. From an insect whose entire brain is smaller than a grain of rice. For a creature that has never accomplished a single useful thing in its existence, that's a genuinely remarkable piece of biological engineering, and they don't fly straight at you either. They move in a zigzag pattern through the plume, constantly sensing where the concentration is strongest, correcting their path, tracing it backward like following a scent trail through the woods. Except the scent is simply you, existing, breathing, being warm. Here's where it starts to get personal. Not everyone releases the same amount of carbon dioxide. Larger bodies produce more of it. Higher metabolisms produce more of it. Pregnant women produce up to 20% more CO2 than average, which is exactly why mosquitoes target pregnant women at a measurably higher rate. Nothing personal, just chemistry and simple math. If you happen to be bigger than your friends, or you run a fast metabolism, congratulations. You are, biologically speaking, the loudest beacon at the table. And carbon dioxide alone gets the mosquito to within a few meters of you. To actually choose you, it needs something far more specific. Your skin is constantly leaking information into the air around it. Lactic acid, ammonia, uric acid, dozens of fatty acids, hundreds of separate volatile compounds, all blending together into something entirely unique to you. A chemical signature that belongs to nobody else on the planet. Mosquitoes are extraordinarily sensitive to this signature. Certain combinations of these compounds are dramatically more attractive than others. And here's the part that might feel uncomfortable. Whether mosquitoes target you and how strongly is largely written into your genetics. You didn't choose it. Your DNA did, which is either a genuine relief or an extremely convenient excuse, depending entirely on who you ask. Those same genes also help determine which bacteria are able to live on your skin, and that bacterial population produces its own compounds layered directly on top of your own scent. Some combinations end up functioning like a dinner bell. Others, mosquitoes largely ignore. There's real evidence behind just how genetic this actually is. Identical twins get bitten at almost exactly the same rate as each other. Non-identical twins show meaningfully different rates. Researchers have specifically tested this. That's not a coincidence. That's biology showing its hand. Buried inside that chemical signature is something even more specific, something a mosquito can effectively read before it ever lands. Your blood type. Roughly 80% of people release chemical markers of their blood type directly through their skin and sweat. Those markers sit on the surface almost like a label, and mosquitoes can detect them. People with blood type O get bitten at roughly twice the rate of people with blood type A. Type B lands somewhere in between. And whether your body actually secretes those markers in the first place matters just as much as which blood type you carry. If you're a secretor, you're a bigger target regardless of type. So sweet blood was never real. But mosquitoes genuinely do favor certain blood chemistry, and they can sense it before touching your skin at all. All of that running through a creature with no meaningful brain to speak of. Stack every layer together. Carbon dioxide output, skin chemistry, bacterial profile, blood type markers, and the person sitting next to you who never gets bitten isn't lucky. They're simply quiet on every single frequency a mosquito happens to be listening on. One more piece worth knowing. That itch that shows up roughly 20 minutes after a bite, somehow always worse at 3 in the morning. That's not actually the mosquito's doing, not directly. By the time it starts itching, the mosquito is long gone. What you're actually feeling is your own immune system overreacting. When a mosquito bites, it injects a small amount of saliva to stop your blood from clotting, which lets it keep feeding. Your body identifies that saliva as an intruder and floods the area with histamines, and that histamine response is what actually causes the itch. You're not reacting to the bite itself. You're reacting to your own body's defense against it. And how intensely you react to that is unsurprisingly genetic as well. Most of what makes you a target is fixed: genetics, metabolism, blood type. None of that changes. But a handful of factors genuinely do shift the odds. Alcohol is one. A single drink measurably increases how attractive you become to mosquitoes. The exact mechanism isn't fully understood. It may involve skin temperature or shifts in what your body releases, but the effect itself has been documented repeatedly. Exercise is another. Physical effort raises lactic acid, increases body temperature, and boosts CO2 output, 3 separate mosquito-attracting signals firing at once. Come straight from a workout and sit outside, and you're operating at peak visibility. Clothing matters too, though not in the way most people assume. At close range, mosquitoes navigate visually, looking for shapes that stand out. High contrast clothing makes you easier to lock onto. Dark clothing also retains more heat, which makes you sweat more, which in turn amplifies your scent. Lighter, lower contrast clothing simply gives them less to work with. And for the record, turning the lights off does nothing. That instinct comes from moths and beetles, not mosquitoes. Mosquitoes hunt by carbon dioxide, heat, and smell, not light. None of these factors individually beats your underlying biology, but stacked together on the wrong night, they add up fast. Back to that table. Same evening, same air, same porch light. One person walks away covered in bites, the other walks away untouched. It was never luck, and it was never random. That mosquito picked up a signal from across the yard, followed it in on a shifting trail of carbon dioxide, narrowed in on a specific chemical signature, and read a blood type before ever making contact. Wings, no brain, one single goal, and by every measurable signal it had access to, you were simply the most findable person there. This has been the Reasonary, where curiosity meets clarity.